Hello, everybody. It's me, Sonia. I just wanted to give an update since I haven't um, done these videos for a long time. I've been going through so much, and every time somebody asks me to start from the beginning, it's hard. Usually a lot happens before I get asked that question, and trying to recall everything. It's so much that it just gets blurred, and I start mixing up dates and times and everything like that. And so this video recording is to help me recall things in sequence just a little bit better, in case I forget somewhere down the road, or I don't know, just when you're overwhelmed. I think that's just something that happens, is you forget things, or you can't remember things in the order that they happened, but it's all there. It's just, when you're stressed and overwhelmed, it doesn't come out the way it it's supposed to come out. So I'm hoping being home, being safe, being in a calm environment, that I can produce the memories in the right way without any duress or anything like that. And I'm gonna have to start from the beginning, so you can see what I mean by, so much has happened. So, tomorrow is Monday, and I think, let me see the date. Yes, tomorrow will be Monday, May the 6th, 2024. And I will be not going to work, but I will be going to the office to speak with HR once more. And I think that will be the last time I will be speaking with HR. And I'm not stressed if it turns out that I get terminated from the job. I'm not stressed about that. What I am stressed is this huge undertaking. I don't know if I bit more than I could chew, but I am trying to hang in there. I decided to open up a case against my chef, my former chef, and I'm also considering opening up a case against the company as well. So my chef, he has reattempted to make contact with me, and he wants to see me again. I asked him that I did not want to talk to him and to stop contacting me, and I blocked him, and he did it again. So he's obviously not taking no for an answer, which he's always been this way. So I'm worried that, there's a chance he might pop up when I least expect it, and I don't like surprises. And he's coming off almost like an obsessed person. I don't have another word for it. I've never been through this before. I've tried to say it nicely. I've tried to say it aggressively. I've tried every way I could, and nothing seems to have gotten to him. And I don't know what his problem is, to be honest. So, um, April 26th and April 27th, he made contact with me uh, through two unknown numbers. And he found out, or thought he had found out, that I quit, and I didn't quit. I spoke to very few people about my plans to quit, but I did not quit. Um, Friday the 26th, I returned to work after taking 4 days off to take care of personal matters. And when I returned, I found out from my coworkers that Chef Mike, the chef that they hired, had quit, and he hadn't been with us for more than 2 weeks. And he left the kitchen a complete mess, and he over ordered on a single purchase, over $4,200, which is more than double what I spend usually on average. And the delivery of our goods that came in that morning, they sat out in the hallway for an hour, and it wasn't put away or anything. On top of that, there was no place to put it because he had over ordered on so much product that we already had on hand that it was very difficult to find space for it. So what I ended up doing was removing some of my things from the dry storage room. I had a workstation in the dry storage room, and I removed everything of mine so that I can make space for the surplus goods that he purchased. And some of the prep that he had made was also, there was also no space to put that. So um, it was like a lot of cleaning, a lot of reorganizing. The kitchen smelled like rotting fish, and he had saved a fish head and put it in a cambro of water for several days, and it festered and it stunk up the kitchen. They threw it out the day before, but the smell was still lingering in the kitchen. And nobody from management contacted me to say the chef quit, and nobody um, nobody told me anything. I walked in like that after months of supervising and managing the kitchen as the acting head chef. They had no regard to tell me what was going on. They kept me in the dark. I just thought that was so disrespectful. And I had warned them about this chef. I told Charmaine, the dining director, the dining coordinator. She asked me for my opinion when they interviewed Chef Mike. She asked me for my opinion, what I thought of him, and I gave it to her. I was very honest, and I said he strikes me as one of those happy-go-lucky types that wing it, and he's gonna let you down when you need him. He's gonna disappoint you um, in your time of need. And everything I said came true. Um, he was a bogus chef. He didn't know how to lead the kitchen. Um, Prep, he didn't know how to prep, which is very strange for an executive chef. He seemed extremely comfortable when it came to handling proteins, and he was fine with that. He could fabricate a fish just fine. He could sear meat just fine. Um, he knew where to buy the meats from, so he was a meat guy. He knew his meats. But as far as having the food knowledge, the creativity, the know-how, being hands-on, he couldn't do it, and it was just weird. I would observe him. Either he lacked the confidence or he really didn't know what he was doing. And the first red flag was when I noticed he started shadowing the temp lead cook, Alberto, and he's a temp cook for the temp agency called Quick. He was shadowing him instead of me, and I'm the sous chef. Why would you shadow a temp lead cook that's under me? I don't know. But it felt like he was avoiding me, or he was intimidated by me, or maybe he was trying to hide something. Maybe he didn't want me to see him for who he really was, in the kitchen. But one day, I overheard him asking Alberto, the temp lead cook, if he had to cut the eyes off of a pineapple. And I turned around and I frowned. I remember frowning, and I was thinking to myself, is he serious? Why would he ask something like that? Is that a test question? Is he trying to see if Alberto knows that he has to cut the eyes of a pineapple? Because, of course, he knows. But it's the chef that was cutting the pineapple, asking Alberto if he had to cut the eyes off of the pineapple. So I told the chef, I said, we always cut the eyes off the pineapple. And another day, similar to that effect, he didn't know how to make the Greek salad, and I was baffled because all the ingredients for the Greek salad was listed on the menu. So that meant that he didn't know how to put it together. He asked me what size for the salad greens he should cut, and I'm saying bite size, and he didn't know what bite size was. I said cut it the way you would like to eat it, and I tried to give him some advice. Maybe I thought maybe his nerves were wound up, maybe he was nervous. So I tried to put his mind at ease, and I said to him, I was like, look, chef, you are in charge, and if you want to change anything, that you have the right to change anything. You're the executive chef. If you want things done a certain way, we'll follow your lead. We'll do whatever that you ask. And it's not that type of kitchen. It's not like a restaurant where there's already recipes and there's already dishes that are supposed to be plated a certain way. It's a catering kitchen, and here they expect people that come here to already know how to do things, to already know how to make things. um and so I was like, you came here with your own expertise, and they hired you for that. So if you want to use your expertise here and change things, then we'll do that. But I was like, you're under no limitations here as far as what you can do. And I was like, whatever you say, it just is. Right now, um, you're the one in charge. It's your kitchen. Um, and he, I guess, couldn't own up to it or something. I don't know why he couldn't handle the kitchen. So during the 4 days that I was gone, he failed the inspection for the kitchen. And as far as the the event and everything else, like I don't know. I just know that Alberto was stressed, and You know, Alberto, when he gets stressed, he tends to forget things, or he tends to kind of like back away. You know, he takes a step back, because it really, he's just a temp lead cook. He's not responsible, you know, like I am as a sous chef or as the executive chef or the dining coordinator. He's there to help us, so he's not obligated to run the kitchen or to tell anyone what to do, or, you know, to make any kind of authoritative decision on anything. He's there to help, and he has been a huge help. He's been with us for months, and he's been through the first chef, he's been with me, and then he's been with this new chef that had quit. And so, you know, he was a huge help. And I feel like the chef was really leaning on him to do everything, and Alberto had to take a step back, and he's like, look, this is, you know, I'm not the executive chef, you are. I'm supposed to take orders from you, not the other way around. Okay. And so during my time off, I get a call from the dining coordinator's assistant, Kurt, and he's asking me about this dish called a Cuban canoe, which is a sweet plantain that is stuffed with a picadillo. And Chef Mike didn't know how to make it. And Kurt was asking me if I had any pictures or anything that could assist the chef in producing it. And I sent him some pictures, and I told him where to find the ingredients in the fridge and the freezer. And I was just shocked. I'm like, how do you not know how to make a Cuban canoe? You're an executive chef. How do you not know? And you got everybody helping you. Um, and it's funny because, you know, Kurt said that everybody in the kitchen swears that they never seen it before and they've never had it before. And he said that we had just served that dish a few weeks ago, and I remember we did too. But I knew something that Kurt did not. And the reason why everybody was claiming that they never saw it before is because they didn't want to claim responsibility for it, because people were starting to observe, the staff was starting to observe that the chef did not know what he was doing. And they all took a step back. Nobody wanted to claim responsibility because they wanted to see if he could own up to his own responsibility. Okay? And maybe that is the reason why they told Kurt that they didn't know what the dish was. They never seen it before. They never made it before. Maybe that's why they said what they said, because it wasn't their responsibility. It was the executive chef's responsibility. And maybe they were starting to see that he didn't know what he was doing. So I I lost a lot of faith in this company. Chef Mike, he was a disappointment. I mean, he was nice, he was charming. We shared a few good laughs, but when it really came down to it, he couldn't handle the kitchen. Um, and he was sympathetic in all the wrong ways. Like he would take a situation and make it more negative than what it was, and try to make everybody feel bad that it was happening. uh like he was playing like the good guy a little too much. Like he was the great sympathizer or something like that. Or the, I don't know why he was playing on the empathy of everybody, but it was like I don't know if he was just, I don't know what the right way to say it or to put it, like he was acting or something, but Um, we've handled worse in that kitchen, and we were fine. We got through it just fine. But the chef was taking little things and trying to exaggerate it into something bigger, and that wasn't the case. And I don't know why he would do that. Um, I don't know if he was just trying to get people to like him, you know, uh, see him as one of the fellas, one of the guys. Like if he was like trying to fit in, like sympathizing with us, like yeah, I don't know why he did that, but I just felt like um I don't know if he was afraid to seriously commit to the job. I don't know if he was um reluctant the whole time. Maybe he was. Maybe he had doubts, but he really didn't own up to his role at all. And yeah, so Chef Mike was a huge disappointment. And when I came back on Friday and found out he quit, and I was very overwhelmed. And then uh, they had to pull another chef from a different kitchen, and his name was Chef Andrew. They had to pull him in so that he could help us. And I worked with Chef Andrew from the very beginning, and he's a great he's a great guy. He knows what he's talking about. He knows how to run a kitchen, but being an honest person from a professional perspective, he really wasn't organized or clean to work with or safe to work with. I remember in the beginning when I worked with him, most of my injuries was because of the physical hazards that he created in the kitchen. Um, and so that day on Friday when he came, the kitchen was already a mess, and I was already trying to put it back together again. And when he came, it was like a tornado came in after a hurricane, and the place went right back to shit. And I was just overwhelmed. I was looking at the floor, I was looking at the stations, I was looking at the dry storage room, the fridge, the freezer, the stove. The ovens went to hell. Like one of them shot down. And what was interesting was I realized that the black button for one of the ovens was pushed down. It's one of those buttons that you're not supposed to touch. And even the intern Mike had brought it up. And the intern Mike, he asked me, he said, I saw the chef push this button, so do I push the other buttons for the other ovens? And I said, no. I was like, first of all, we're not even supposed to touch that button because that trips up the system in the oven. So if you saw him do it, don't even try and correct it or fix it. Just leave it alone, and don't even touch the other ovens. I will shut them off at the end of the day. But you leave that up, that one oven that he touched like that, don't touch it. So if something happens to it, I'll know that it was him. Lo and behold, that oven, it goes out of commission. The oven shuts down. It gets tripped up. So um, Chef Andrew blamed that oven failure on the staff. And I didn't like that one bit because he was the one. that pushed that button. Nobody else did that but him. And fixing ovens is hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars to fix, whether it's parts or a system upgrade or whatever. It's very expensive. So I didn't know that this chef has been in that kitchen before, and he should know better not to have pushed that button. So I don't know if that was sabotage or whatever. I don't know. So I just, you know, I let that one go. I was like, whatever, because I was already stressed about the state of the kitchen in general. And when he came in, he made it worse. Just lids of from cans on, not put away properly, and food in the sink on the floor, and knives sticking out from the table, and just every unsafe condition you can think of in the kitchen. He created it, and just cleaning up after this man, trying to make the kitchen a little safer and more efficient to work in. And then our boss comes in. She's the boss for all the kitchen operations. Her name is Barbara. I call her Big Boss Barbara. But Barbara comes in, and I felt relief. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like, what good timing this is that she shows up. I was like, she's just the right person I need to talk to. I need to find out what's going on. And, so I see her greet everybody. I see her greet one of my coworkers. Her name is Ophelia. And I say to her, I gave her a hug. I greeted her and I said, if you can I please have a few minutes of your time? I need to talk to you in the office about something. So she didn't come right away to the office. I waited for her inside the office. She was still talking to Ophelia. And when she got into the office, before I can even get a sentence in, she stops me and she said, I need you to go back to work right now. And I said, but I need to talk to you. And she said, no, right now what's important is the job. You have 17 orders to do, and I need you to do that right now. And then I was like, okay, but can we at least have this conversation maybe later? Is that still possible? And she said, yes, but right now I need you to do your job. And I was like, you know what? I understand. I always do my job, but I get it. I understand. I'll do it right now. She wanted a yes or no answer, and I said, if I say I understand, that answer is sufficient. I'm not a child. I don't have to give you a yes or no answer. If I'm telling you I understand, that should be enough to know that I'm being compliant. So I walk out of the office, and I go back to work, and we knock out the 17 orders. That was not due until 2 hours later. It was done on time. It went out on time and everything. And there was nothing left to do but prep for the next day, and cleaning up after the chef in general. And Barbara was on her way out, and she said to me, I'm going to leave now, but I got 5 minutes. You want to talk now? And I looked at her and I said, no, I don't have time right now. I'm busy. And she gave me this look like I said something wrong to her. And I didn't, because I was busy. I was doing my job like she said I should. So why should I stop what I'm doing to talk to you when you didn't have time to talk to me when there was time to talk? I found it so disrespectful and rude and cold. She was very cold towards me. I don't know why. She was warm and receptive towards everyone else, but very cold towards me, like reptilian. But anyway, just, I was like, basically forget it. It's like, whatever. If it wasn't important to you, um, then it's not going to be important now. Um, but she made sure to dig in the trash earlier, looking to see if there was any food waste or whatever. She's 5 minutes digging in the trash, just fishing for things. And I'm saying to myself, if you have 5 minutes to dig in the trash, you didn't have 5 minutes to talk to me earlier. You know what I mean? Like, I just was just pissed off. Like, you know, how are you the face of your company? You know, the boss, and you conduct yourself like that. This is how you show yourself to your employee. Like, it's not professional, and it's not a good image. It's not a good image at all. And I said to myself, um, I'll never go to her for help ever again. I don't have time for people like that. Brush me off like that and treat me like I don't know how to do my job. Like, did I not hold down this place for months by myself with incomplete training at that? And I did it. I pulled it off by myself. And you're going to treat me like that? Like, as if she had some type of ill contempt towards me. Like, what, I don't know. I don't know what's up with that, but you know, it felt pretty personal. I don't know why she treated me like that. So when I made space for all those extra things and I had to pack my things up, I also had things with me from my trip. I had a luggage case with me. I had a bag and everything like that. Plus the things I had packed from my workstation. So it was a lot to carry. And I had it all up on a table and everything like that. So some of the staff, they saw that and they thought that I was quitting because they saw me, pack all my things in boxes and stuff in bags. And they had a talk with me, and I explained to them, I was like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, and I do want to quit. I had enough of this place, but it wouldn't be convenient for me to quit right now because right now we don't have an executive chef. He quit, and I'm not gonna quit just because he quit. I'm gonna quit because of what I went through. And I just had enough of this company. They don't care. They don't care, and they obviously don't care about what I went through. It shows, you know. I was like, I'm not quitting today. I want to, but right now this kitchen can't afford to lose another chef. So I was like, I made space for Chef Mike's purchases and for his prep because there was no place else to put it. And I had no choice but to remove my things to make space for it. That's why I packed my things. But Chef Andrew took care of everything else. I asked him if he was going to put in the order for the next day, and he said he would. So there was nothing left for me to do. So I took all my things. I clocked out, and a resident from the building saw me with all my things and saw how difficult it was for me to carry it. So he helped me carry it to the Port Authority. And I just made my bus, and I gifted him $20 as a thank you for helping me carry all those things. And I made it home with all my stuff. And when I got settled in, and I skipped a part, but I'll get to that in a moment. So when I settled in, and I got a not a phone call, a text message. It was from an unknown number, And I thought it was a chef that I had spoken to earlier. Right before I left work, I made a phone call to a chef I know. His name is Chef Roscoe. And he told me that he was busy at the moment, but he would call me back to finish the conversation. And so when I was home and I got the text message saying um, if I was willing to restart, you know, where we had left off from, or to start what we it was just worded funny, but I thought it was Chef Roscoe contacting me again. So I addressed this unknown number, um, this unknown caller as Chef Roscoe, and I'm talking to him, and it goes on like this for like maybe 6 minutes, and then the caller um, tells me that they'll call me later or something like that. 20 minutes later, they text me back and they reveal that they're not Chef Roscoe. And so this whole time I'm thinking I'm talking to Chef Roscoe, and the person is impersonating him so that he can get information from me. And then he texts me back saying that he's not Chef Roscoe. So I was kind of shocked, and I'm saying, okay, so who are you? You know, I'm over here giving a complete stranger my information, talking about the job and stuff, so I didn't like that. So I demanded to know who he was. He wouldn't tell me who he was. He asked me to guess, in fact, and I was like, I don't know. I don't like playing guessing games. And so he kept asking for us to meet. He wanted me to call him. Uh, he he wanted to go out for drinks, and I'm like, who the hell is this person? Then he calls me Sophia, and I'm like, Sophia? And then it clicked, and I said, wait, there's only one person that ever called me that in the kitchen, and it was Chef Henry, the chef that was the executive chef before he got fired back in February. And I'm like, I cannot believe he is contacting me. I have not heard from him since he's been fired in February. And if this was him, this was his first contact made since February. This is uh, April 26th. So this is months later. This is my first contact from him since he got fired. He is not supposed to talk to me, and I am not even supposed to mention him on the job. And here he is contacting me, acting like nothing has happened. And when I figure out who it is, I tell him, why are you contacting me now? And he hints that, you know, he thinks that I quit, um, and that now's the time to be together, which is ridiculous because one, we never had a romantic relationship on or off the job. Two, I've always told him I have a boyfriend. I still have a boyfriend, same boyfriend. And he's never like accepted that. He's always wanted to be with me regardless of my relationship status, regardless that we were coworkers, regardless of everything. He just blew everything off because he, I guess, really wanted to be with me. I don't know. Um, so after I ask him, why is he contacting me now, and he tells me um, that he thinks that I'm no longer there and that now we can be together. Um, and I'm like, uh, please do not contact me no more. Like this, This is it. Just and I blocked the number, and the next day, he calls me from another unknown number, and that's when I decided to go to the police precinct because I was like, I already know this man's habits, his behavior, his personality. Like, I already know him. He's not going to stop. I don't need him showing up on my door because he knows where I live. I don't need him showing up after work. And he lives in Newark. I passed through Newark on the way home, on the way to the city. I have no choice. I pass through there. I could run into him at any given moment. He can pop up at any given moment. I don't like it. Um so I went to my precinct to report the calls, and they said since we were co-workers, I have to report it in New York. So I went to New York to report it to them, and then the precinct in New York said you have to report where the incident happened. And if he was fired for sexual harassment, that means that you they're going to focus on the incident itself, where the incident of sexual harassment occurred. So I said that would be Newark. And they said, okay, you're going to have to go to the precinct in Newark and file the complaint there. So I did. And when I was at Newark, um, I almost went to the wrong precinct, and then I found the right precinct. It was just so hard to find the right jurisdiction to handle this situation. I didn't realize how damn difficult it was. So after almost four different precincts, I finally find the right one, and I speak with officers. I'm there for a few hours. I'm exhausted. Doing most of this on my off hours. And I went home very late after that. And I remember I got to work late. I tried to wake up on time. I did. And even though I got dressed and I still fell back asleep, I was just so tired. I missed my bus and everything. And I made sure to contact somebody, let them know, hey, I'm running late. I'm on my way. But I got penalized for that. So, it's like whatever at this point, you know. Um, but it's been very, very stressful, and between work and bouncing between these precincts for days, and the information that I have to give them to go back to the beginning and explain everything in details, um, and some of the details are just graphic in nature, and really disconcerting and just uncomfortable, and it's I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It's you're feeling very vulnerable. Um, I felt very vulnerable. I'm guessing other people might feel vulnerable, but I know I felt vulnerable going through all this, and I felt alone. I didn't really have a lot of people to talk to about this. There's the fact that HR had warned me not to even bring up the chef's name at work. Um, Made me feel very isolated, and I didn't feel like I had anybody to consult with. And when I did consult somebody, I got betrayed. So I couldn't even trust my own peers. Like I couldn't even talk to Barbara. She kicked me out of the office, acting like I wasn't doing my job. So it's just it, And I remember I remember just feeling like, maybe this is it. I did all I could, and this is probably it. I don't think I'm going to be here much longer. Um, but after Newark, um, I remember the police officer was filling out the report, and he still needed to clarify more things. And the questions he asked was extremely uncomfortable to answer, and inconvenient to answer, because when he was asking these questions, it was over the phone when I was at home with my roommates. I didn't want them overhearing the conversation. So I told the officer, I was like, look, I'll come the next day. I'll bring my journal with me. The entries are put in chronological order. It would be much more efficient to just, you know, come back with the journal and give you, you know, a more concise, proper statement, so that you can make sure that your report is solid, And so he agreed, but it looks like he had put in the report the way he had it anyway. I don't know how he put it in yet. Um, so instead, he puts in the report. It goes forward to a detective. It gets sent to um, a special victims unit, um, and assigned to these detectives. So I got in contact with them, and then I had to go see them the next day. And after speaking with them, they told me that I had to go back to my local precinct in Roselle Park and have them file a report of harassment for the phone calls. And I said, I tried to do that and they sent me away. And she said, go back and do it again. And this time they have to, because you're going to do it in this order. You're going to say these things, and they're going to know that this is the correct procedure this time. I didn't have anyone tell me how to do things until the detective did. So she helped, like, really simplify the process, streamline the process so much better. So she told me to go back to the Roselle Park precinct. She told me to go back to the Midtown precinct in New York. And that's what I did. Everything after work. Um, I went back to Roselle Park. I went back to the Midtown precinct, and they put in the reports. So I have two cases open right now, one in New Jersey and one opened in New York. Um, the case in New Jersey is sexual contact and sexual assault, and the one in New York is um, probably for battery or physical. So I don't know how they're gonna label that one. And the one in Roselle Park is for harassment. So um, uh, so it's a lot, and the only ones that know is my roommates, my boyfriend, my mom, my brother, and maybe two or three of my coworkers that I know I can trust, but nobody else knows. And I honestly couldn't tell you why all of this is happening. Um, None of this should be happening. Um, if the company instilled a policy of safety in the workplace, none of this should have happened from day one. None of this should happen. Because I'm not the first case of sexual harassment on that job. And if they had solved that problem in from the beginning with whoever that happened to from the beginning, then what happened to me, it should have never happened at all. Um, and when I reported it to HR, they, according to them, they said that they had conducted an investigation, and I find out later that they did not. The witnesses that I have provided them, they didn't interview the witnesses. They didn't collect any footage of the incident that I told them happened on the job. And so, because they did not conduct a proper investigation and fired the chef, I have to be the one to collect the evidence and go to court and get a subpoena for the footage, and just all the legwork is on me, and um I'm exhausted in every way, and it's just, if they had done their job, I wouldn't be going through this. I started with that company as a temp lead cook back in 2022, and I at the time was working for four different employers, not just Project Renewal, but also with the World Trade Center, um, Arcadia Catering in Emerson, New Jersey, and also Laurel Circle in that was also New Jersey. I forget the name, but I did a year for all four employers, and out of them all, I chose a roach infested kitchen with a formerly incarcerated chef, with a staff shortage, and it's a nonprofit organization. I chose them out of some of the better kitchens. The chef at the World Trade Center, he went to the Iron Chef competition. Um, the chef at the Arcadia Catering, I believe he used to be a two Michelin star chef. Laurel Circle in New Jersey, they're some of the best senior senior care facilities in New Jersey. So it's like I had better employment in these places, and I still chose them because I saw a need. I saw that I could I could do more with them. I could do more for them. I could help them, and they needed help, and that's all I saw. I saw a need, and I wanted to fulfill it. I wanted to help them, and they all seemed like good people to me. Now I feel like I made a mistake. I can't take it back because it already happened. Everything already happened. But that's why I chose them. I chose them because I knew I could make a difference, and I did. I did make a difference, a huge difference, and I don't think they appreciate that. Um, I don't think they appreciate that. I helped make it a safe place. I helped make it a clean place. I helped train many people. Um, I organized the place. I established good communications with our vendors. Um, the quality of food was not compromised. Uh, the morale never fell. Like it was like maybe I don't know. Maybe it doesn't sound like much to them. I don't know. I know it made a difference for my staff. I know it made a difference with the vendors. I know it made a difference with the clients, the residents. Um, I know it made a difference. Upper management, I don't know. And you know what? I don't care at this point because I did it for I did it for these people. I wanted a safer, better kitchen for them. That's who I did it for. And I didn't do it for accolades. I didn't do it uh, for anything other than for their benefit. Um, so now they have a new chef, another new chef. I don't know her name, but I wish her the best. I and that's all I can really say about that part. But in the beginning, when I first started with this company as a temp lead cook, I thought it was I thought it was a good place and good people, and um, they had their flaws, but I thought if I came back, I could make a difference, and I could help. And I stuck with them for about a year. I did a year for all the employers that I had, and then I made my decision. I chose Project Renewal out of them all. And Chef Henry, he promoted me to sous chef, and that was his plans for a long time. When he saw my skill set, um, the food knowledge that I had, he felt like I was a good fit for it. I even asked him to be clear. I said, "Are you promoting me to sous chef because you see that I can do it, that I know what I know, or are you promoting me to sous chef because you like me?" And he said, "No, because I believe that you're a good cook, and um, I think you're a good fit for, sous chef." I said, "Okay." And I guess there was an underlying intention behind making me a sous chef, but he didn't tell me at the time. But that's what he did tell me, was he told me I was promoted because of my skill set, my experience in the field, um, what I've shown him over the time being there. He felt like I was the right fit. So um, and nobody ever gave me a shot at being a sous chef before. I've been in this industry 21 years, and I never had a shot at sous chef in the civilian sector. I've only experienced an equivalent role in the military, but never in the civilian sector. So this was my first opportunity in my field, in the civilian sector, becoming a sous chef. And the reason why I haven't earned it, it's not that I haven't earned it. The reason why I never had the position before is because in all the other places of employment, I've experienced sexual harassment and gaslighting and workplace intimidation, and it was always a condition of either sleeping with the person or just I wasn't going to sleep with somebody to become a sous chef. I wasn't going to have someone fired to become a sous chef. I wasn't going to become a stool pigeon to become a sous chef. Like, what was so wrong about just being good at your job and being promoted for your job performance? Like, so, um, no matter how good my work ethics were, it never seemed enough to get me there. Um, and because I never lowered my standards for anybody, that's why I never got promoted. I never slept around. I never did any of that, you know. Um, so when Chef Henry gave it to me, he told me why he gave it to me. I was like, finally, somebody finally sees my work ethic and is promoting me for that, and not because he wants to sleep with me. Um, but that wasn't the case. Um, because that was his underlying intention, was to sleep with me. And every time I refused, um, he took that out on me on the job. He made working with him harder and harder and harder. Every time I refused, it just it got worse working with him. And then when it got worse on the job, he'll try and make amends for it by um, asking me out or using the time off to explain himself or uh, to see his good side again. Like, and every time I took him for his word, he always broke it. I unfortunately I trusted him and he let me down. You know, I don't know if some of you are thinking, well, if you've been through these things before with men in your other jobs, why would you assume, like, I can't judge another boss, another chef, another man based off of the bad experience I've had with prior bosses, prior men, prior chefs. I can't do that. Every time I work for somebody new, I try and give them the benefit of a doubt. Um, I try not to judge them. Even if I see red flags, I try and make sure, you know, that the red flags are really what they are and it's not just based on assumptions or bad feelings from the past or anything like that. I try and make sure if this person is, coming off wrong, I have to make sure they really are in the wrong before I judge them for anything. So with Chef Henry, um, he set off a lot of red flags, but he was very subtle and meticulous and manipulative, and he his level of mind games was on a different level. I don't know if he's done this before to somebody else, but he seemed to know what he was doing, to get what he wanted. Like he was very clever. So I felt like if I observed him long enough, I could figure him out. I could figure out his game, his mind games. I could figure him out because every time I go through something like this, I tend to quit my job and just move on. And I spoke to my boyfriend about it, and he's the one that told me to fight for my job and stand my ground. And he didn't find it fair that I have to quit every time I go through this. He said, you know, this is your job. And so I decided to stand up for myself. I decided to, you know, fight for my job. I stood my ground, and it led to this. I'm not saying what I did was wrong. I think I did the right thing. It's just it opened up a can of worms, and I think uh, this Pandora's box already existed for a long time. I think it was always there, and um, because I stood my ground, I exposed a lot of things that weren't exposed for a long time. And I feel because I exposed so much that I became a liability for this company in a lot of ways. So after they fired Chef Henry for sexual harassment, um, the vibes that I got from the company, it changed. Like it felt like I became a threat to them, and um, I felt like I was being watched more, and the things I was saying was under scrutiny a lot. Like I had no idea, you know, I would see HR so much more than just reporting Chef Henry. I went to HR more times than I can count on my hand. Like I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why am I always in their office? What did I do? Um, and it's like they were always trying to find something on me, and I didn't know why at the time, but now it makes sense, and I feel like losing Chef Henry was a big loss for them. Um, and it was also an embarrassment. I feel like they really invested a lot in him, and as long as I stayed on the job, I was a reminder of that. And maybe they thought I quit, and when they saw that I actually stayed, and even after Chef Henry got fired, my first day back, I got spat on my like by a resident. I got spit in my face twice by a resident. They thought I was gonna quit that, and after that they thought I was gonna quit, and I still stayed. And um then Chef Mike, he quit short notice, didn't tell nobody, uh no heads up, and I still stayed. And so I think they're trying to manage me out somehow. They're trying to find a way to get me out, and maybe they're surprised that I lasted this long. Maybe they thought I was gonna quit sooner, because if I quit, I'm one less problem for them. You know, I did them a favor. But since I didn't, I guess they felt I was a thorn in their side. You know, um, when they fired Chef Henry, I wasn't given any grief counseling. I wasn't given any time off. I went right back to work because they needed me to go right back to work. When the resident spat in my face twice, he wasn't arrested for doing that. And in fact, I had to continue serving him. And I did. And I even gave him my own plate of food. And this man went on to harass a little girl on a subway train. And now he's at Rikers Island. Not because of what the company did, but because of what he did. And, it's almost as if the company waits for things to resolve on its own before they have a hand in it. And I'm thinking they had the same attitude towards me, that they thought I would their problem with me would be resolved by me quitting, and all they had to do was just wait. And when that didn't happen, then they had to look for some kind of dirt on me, any kind of dirt they could, and that didn't happen. So it's like, um I could feel them losing like patience, just they're tired of me for whatever reason. And so then there was this so-called de-escalation training. The assistant to the head of security, he was hosting this training. His name was Earl, and it wasn't really training. It was more like just picking our brains. It was me and the kitchen staff, him and another person from security, that was also like leading the discussion. And he didn't really let him talk that much because he was doing all the talking. um but we didn't really get anything out of that training. Like, he didn't say anything that we didn't already know. It wasn't it was the most there was nothing informative about that. Nothing. There's a word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it right now. But as far as learning something from that training, we didn't learn anything. um he didn't say anything helpful, or something that we could do. Like, it was just redundant. Um so I'm guessing, to pass time for his lack of information and maybe lack of experience altogether, he was picking our brains to find out what we thought could make our workplace a safer place. And we all gave him suggestions. And when I suggested better locks, he kind of um, shot down that idea, because he was like, well, we already tried to get you, a whole different door. And I even tried to put a window in the wall. And, you know, it was like, okay, I appreciate those efforts. I'm not saying that you didn't try, but I'm just saying, I'm not asking for that much. I'm asking for a change of locks, better locks. Like, that's not asking for too much. The problem that I had was when Chef Henry would go after me in the kitchen. I never had a way of finding a safe place to secure myself in, or to even get out from, because he knew how to manipulate the locks from the inside and the outside to prevent me from escaping or to keep me inside of something. So I suggested better locks, and I also suggested an intercom to contact help. And he said, "Well, we already got you the walkie-talkies." And I said, "Okay, but nobody knows how to fucking use them." Excuse my language. I was like, me and Charmaine, the dining coordinator, we were the only two that was shown how to use the walkie-talkies, and I forgot because I don't use it, and nobody else knows how to use it. So it's like, what good is the walkie-talkies if nobody knows how to use them? We just carry them around, or they're up on our stations and they're there all day until we turn them in at the end of the shift. They don't really do anything. And on top of that, um we had this issue where there was only one security on duty, so it's like, on top of that, it was sort of like he was blaming me, like, oh, we can't always send you security because they have to do their own job and we can't keep sending them to the kitchen. um and I was like, you know what, whatever. So then, with the whole incident itself with the resident, um when I was explaining, we were all trying to explain to him how bad it was, and he couldn't get it through his skull. Like, he really tried to minimize it. And when I gave him a demo of how close that resident was to me, and the threats that he made, and how I had no choice but to try to defend myself, like, he really thought I could just had walked away from it all, that it was that simple. And I said, no, it was not that simple. And the more he demoralized me and diminished what happened to me, the more upset I got. And it was just ridiculous. Like, I'm getting frustrated now just thinking about it, but it's like, how are you the assistant head of security and you are minimizing an incident that happened on the job that jeopardized our safety? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, is the whole point of this de-escalation training was because of what freaking happened to me on the job. Not once, but twice. I went through the most incidences on that job. First my chef, and then a resident. And nobody did anything about either one. So right now, I want to prevent that from happening to the next person. And you're over here minimizing what I went through. And then on top of that, to tell me, the person that got spat on by that same resident that harassed a little girl in the subway, how do you tell me that and not think that's not going to trigger me after I told you that I have PTSD? So when I went to HR to report him for his poor training and for all the stuff that he said during that training, HR didn't want me to talk about Earl. HR brought up how I was bringing up Chef Henry on the job and how everybody came forward to report that I was talking about Chef Henry. And I'm like, everybody? And the head of HR, Miss Lowe, Carol Lowe, she mentioned Charmaine's name. She mentioned Chef Andrew, Mohammed, Kurt. She mentioned a few others, and I'm saying, wow, these are the people that I spoke to in confidence about what I went through. One. And two, I worked with Chef Henry for over a year. All my training is from him. So now that he's not there no more and I'm the acting head chef, I bring him up because if you guys make changes on the job, I have to know what those changes are because I'm still currently running the kitchen the way that he ran the kitchen. All my trainings from him. So if I bring him up every now and then about, hey, he taught me how to do it like this. Hey, he told me to talk to this vendor about that, or whatever case may be, it's job related. Of course, I'm going to bring up his name every now and then. But because you went ahead and told HR behind my back that I'm talking about Chef Henry, you know, and you don't even provide the context of those conversations, you led HR to assume that I'm talking about the investigation to everybody when they told me not to talk about the investigation to anybody. And, you know, when they told me not to talk about the investigation to anybody, I respected that. And I said, I will not. I have not. But during the de escalation training, I felt it correlated with what needed to be said because it was an issue of safety. Even then, I tried to make sure that I did not bring Chef Henry up. I only brought up the incident of being locked up. Without the context of the conversation, HR assumed that I brought up the investigation and gave me a final notice, a final warning, that if I brought up Chef Henry's name again, that I would be terminated from my job. And they would not do anything about Earl. They didn't reprimand him about his training or anything that he said to me or did. He was untouchable. They wouldn't touch him. In fact, in HR's language, every time they told me to stop, that was their way of telling me to shut up. That only what they said mattered. It wasn't a two-way conversation. I was there to just listen and be told. I didn't have a word in anything. So it was very unfair. It was a very one-sided so-called meeting. Then at the end of all that, of being threatened of losing my job, then they asked me if I had anything to say at the end of that. And I said, at this point, no, I have nothing to say. Y'all treat me like this, and then you think I have something to say after that. No, I don't. And to think it happens again with Barbara, treating me like that in the office and kicking me out, telling me to do my job, which I have been doing since day one, without complaint, without breaking any rules, without compromising my integrity, and they treat me like that. Even when I tried to report Chef Henry, the same person, Carol Lowe, head of HR, she tried to minimize what he did to me, to uh, a misconduct in the kitchen, a behavioral issue. I said, no. Does sexual assault mean anything to you? Does him trying to penetrate me with his penis mean anything to you? Then she got the point. But ever since I brought this up, I have had a target on me ever since. And so tomorrow I'm supposed to meet up once more with HR. And I don't think I'm going to stay, cuz I think they're going to fire me, cuz they think they want to get me for dereliction of duties or something like that. talking about I disappeared for a half hour and I couldn't be found. And I never disappeared on the job. I was still on the job. It came to my attention that security found footage of an assault that happened to me on the job by Chef Henry. And they found two videos, in fact. So after viewing the first video, I thought that was all they had, and I was on my way back to the kitchen, and the security guard came out the office and came back to get me, saying that they found a second footage, and it was a much better footage that caught the whole thing. So I went back to review it, and that's why it took me a half hour to come back to the kitchen. And by that time, I had to leave because I had to go to the precinct. And that was a matter that I already discussed. Well, I didn't discuss that I had to go to the precinct to anybody, but it was already discussed that I had to leave early to take care of personal matters. That's the way I put it. I said personal matters. I had left a day prior on personal matters. I had to leave. And again, I had to leave again for personal matters. I did not tell them the nature of the personal matters because I wanted to keep it confidential. And also because I couldn't trust my peers on the job. So I couldn't tell them why I had to leave, that I just had to leave on personal matters. So the security told me that the camera system loops every 3 months. And since the timing of the assault happened in December, it was about to be lost to time. It was going to be looped over. So there's not a lot of time left, and I need that footage. And the only way to get it is obtaining a subpoena. And the only way to get a subpoena is either through a lawyer or a detective. But everything is now a legal process, and the legal process, as we all know, is very long. And by the time I finally get this lawyer and get this process going and get a subpoena, that footage might be gone. So I know it's extremely important to get it. And I wish they could have just gave it to me right there and then, but I know that they can't do that, and the legal process is the only way. Um, but all I want is for this to stop. I want this chef to stop harassing me. I want him to stop coming after me. I don't want to be with him. I never wanted to be with him. I never had any feelings towards him, um, other than our work relationship, which was always professional. No matter how strained it was always professional. Um, we were friends, or I was trying to be his friend. Um, and just from a Christian standpoint, I was just trying to be a moral support for him because he had gone through a divorce. He was formerly incarcerated. Um, he had a hard time finding an apartment because he gave up his house. According to him, he gave his house and his car to his wife, so he had nothing. He was starting from scratch, and because I had been through a divorce, I understood what that was like, starting from scratch, and it's a very hard road, and I empathized with him, and so you know, I tried my best to just be a moral support for him, be a friend, work my ass off, just try and be what he needed for the moment. And he took advantage of that because he wanted a relationship that I told him he could never have. I told him numerous times, I have a boyfriend, I'm in a relationship, and he did not respect that. He couldn't accept that I was with someone else. In his mind, he felt I belonged to him. I don't know why. thinks like that. But I need it to be over. I don't know how what else to do except make it stop legally. He won't take no for an answer. I tried so many times, and he won't stop. So I have to make him stop the legal way now. Now he's in trouble with the law again, and this is something I did not want to happen, but it happened anyway. And I felt bad for him before, and now I don't feel bad anymore. I don't. Um, I gave him too many chances. I forgave him many times. I know the Bible says to forgive someone 72 times if they wronged you 72 times. I get it. But, my safety's in jeopardy. I went through a lot in my career and also my personal life, and I need to feel safe. And it's unfortunate that I had to turn out like this. I did not want this. I didn't want any of it. And he forced my hand. And yeah, so it doesn't matter if I tell the job that I've been late due to the stress I've been under, due to my health complications, due to the incidences that I keep going through on the job. It doesn't matter because they don't care. So if I have to bring this up in a wrongful termination suit, or if I gotta bring this up as a hostile work environment issue, I don't know. But I don't want this happening to someone else, because it seems all they're good at and all they care about is making this stuff disappear. When they fired Chef Henry, they really called it a day. They didn't do anything as far as investigate, like a true investigation. They didn't interview any of the witnesses I gave them. They didn't look for footage to substantiate my claims of the incidences happening on the job. They didn't do shit, excuse my language. They didn't do anything. And they had a chance to press charges on him, even though I said I didn't want to press charges on him at the time. They had the option of pressing charges on him. If they had seen that footage like I saw that footage, it's different when you see yourself being assaulted on camera. It's different. It was so shocking to see myself on the floor, not being able to get back up. And I really underestimated his strength, and his determination. And I wish I saw that footage sooner, cuz I don't think I would have reneged my right to press charges on him. I think I would have pressed charges on him had I seen myself being assaulted by him. It's so different seeing yourself from that perspective. It's so different. But if the company had done their job, had they conducted a proper investigation, had they collected the evidence to substantiate my story, they could have pressed charges on him. So now that I realize my mistake, I'm doing it now because he reattempted contact with me and I have to make it stop because I cannot relive this. This is a nightmare. I'm not going to relive it again. This time I am going to press charges. I'm going to nip it in the bud this time. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. And I'm going to miss my staff. I'm going to miss Ophelia, Abdul, Vicente, Jacob. Mm. And I never had anything against Charmaine, Kurt, Kelly. Never had anything bad to say about any of them. Until they went behind my back and told HR that I bring up Chef Henry. And I think that's really unfair because they didn't even offer a context to why I brought him up. And that really hurt, but it is what it is. But I don't hate them. I don't have anything against them. Maybe they thought they did what they had to do. I don't know. But I thought when I confided in them, I confided in them because I could trust them. I could depend on them for advice, for suggestions, for, their own experiences. I thought I could talk to them. And they betrayed me. And after everything I went through on that job, you would think they'd be more understanding of the way I feel, and they're not. Even with my PTSD, they chalk it up to just a bunch of feelings. They don't know what PTSD actually is. They have no understanding of it. And it's fine. I did all I could. I held down the fort when they lost their chef. I waited 2.5 months for them to hire a chef that didn't know that he had to cut the eyes off of a pineapple. And he quit on them in less than 2 weeks. A chef that I warned them about. Now they hired this new one, and now it seems like they don't need me no more. It is what it is. I remember I told Charmaine in the office, I said to her, I feel like you're only keeping me here long enough until you get somebody. I'm only here until you fill in that slot, and then I'm gone. She said, no, it's not like that. And I said, no, that's exactly how it feels. I'm convenient until I'm no longer convenient. And I guess I reached the end of my service. So I move forward. At least I guess I have sous chef under my belt. I could also put acting head chef on my resume because that's what I was for the months that they didn't have an executive chef. And I gained experience from that. And um, I gave it the best that I could with a bad back and everything. I did the impossible. And now it's time to move on. And I got job offers, and I'm too scared. I don't want to go through it again with anybody else. And I'm still waiting for Chef Roscoe to call me back. He hasn't called me back yet. But I don't want to go through this again. And it's sad because I already have a whole history of going through this and prior employments, and I'm tired of it. Why can't I just work somewhere and just go home and that's it? I mean, it's supposed to be that simple, you know. Shouldn't be all this backstabbing and backbiting and harassment and gaslighting and intimidation. It shouldn't be none of that. I don't even know why it exists. You're just there to work. Well, that inner political monopoly going on in that job, I don't care about it. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about people's God complex. I don't care about their egos. I don't care who wants to be first and who wants to be last. I don't care about any of that. I just wanted a job that pays the bills. That's all I wanted. I wanted a place I could feel safe working in. I wanted the chance to grow and to to finally reach a pinnacle in my career, which was sous chef, head chef, whatever. To be a well-seasoned chef in my career and finally put that down on paper. That's all I wanted. I paid a heavy price for it. I don't think I want it anymore. Even though I earned it and I am more than deserving, I just, for all that, I don't think it was worth it. And I think I'm much happier and safer being anonymous and just being a cook and staying under the radar and just being nobody. No, that's all I want to say. That's all I can say. I'm a mess right now. I don't want to say anything else.